In this video, we're going to go over Form SSA 3368, which is the disability report someone can file as an adult to claim Social Security benefits. So this is a pretty lengthy form, and a lot of people usually enlist the help of either an attorney or a Social Security expert to help them provide the documentation and complete the form accurately so that the Social Security Administration can approve it. However, you absolutely can complete this form on your own, and that's what this video is about. So we're going to actually start at the beginning of this form. You can't see it from here, but this is actually page 3 of a 14-page document. So what I'd like to do is circle back up to the top of the form and kind of walk through some of the information that you might review on your own. So there's information that you can read before you complete the report if you need help, and then kind of written instructions on how to complete the report. And if you have medical records, then you're going to need to either send them or bring them to the Social Security Administration office to accompany your report. If you want to keep your records, you need to let the SSA know that so they can return them to you. And if you're having an interview in their office, you can bring the medical records, all of your prescription medicine containers if available, and then the completed form with you. You do not need to have doctors or hospitals send any medical records that you do not already have. If you give the Social Security Administration permission, they can request your records from your medical providers. So we'll cover a little bit more about what that entails later in the form. So according to the Social Security Administration, disability is based on your inability to work. So this is an inability to work as defined by the Social Security Act. You will be considered disabled if you're unable to do any kind of work for which you are suited, and if your disability is expected to last or has lasted either at least a year or is expected to result in death. So when the Social Security Administration asks, when did you become unable to work, they're asking when you became disabled as defined by the Act itself. The Privacy Act statement, this accompanies Social Security Administration forms. It informs you that everything that you provide is completely voluntary. However, the Social Security Administration does require certain information to process your claim, and not providing that information might be detrimental to your claim. At the bottom of page 2 is the Paperwork Reduction Act statement. The SSA estimate is that it should take about 90 minutes to read the instructions, gather the facts, and answer questions. With that said, every person's situation is different. Some might take a little bit less. There are certain presumptive illnesses or disabilities that are pretty straightforward, and then there are certain medical conditions that might be more complex and might require additional information. So it's all relative. On average, the SSA estimates about 90 minutes. So you'll see at the top of the form a box marked SSA use only. Obviously, you don't need to write it in that box. You can simply go to section 1, and we'll start at the top, but I'm going to walk through this form and just kind of call out the sections as I see them so that you can kind of be prompted to remember them. Section 2 is contacts, so people that the Social Security Administration can reach out to other than your doctors to get more information as needed. Section 3 contains information about your medical conditions. Section 4 contains information about your work activity. Section 5 refers to your education and training. Section 6 is your job history. Section 7 is any medication that you're taking, and if you're not, then you can go directly to Section 8, which is the field for medical treatment. Section 9 is other relevant medical information. Section 10 is vocational rehabilitation, employment, or other support services. So only persons that are already receiving supplemental income, so SSI, would complete Section 10. If that doesn't apply to you, then you can proceed directly down to Section 11, which is the remarks section, and it's got plenty of space for you to provide additional information that you did not previously supply. As a best practice, anytime you fill in the remarks section, it would be prudent to put a note on the side as to which section your next note is referring to. So if you needed to provide additional information under Section 10, the vocational rehab, then you would write Section 10, maybe in parentheses write continued, and then fill in that information. Again, part of this effort is to make it as easy as possible for someone to approve your request. So we'll go to the top of the form. We'll walk through this line by line. So Section 1, you'll complete your first, middle, initial, and last name. Line 1B, your social security number. Below that, a mailing address. So it can be a street address or a post office box with a city, state, and zip code. Your email address. Daytime phone number to include an area code. If you live outside the U.S. or Canada, then a country code as well. Check the applicable box if you do not have a phone where the Social Security Administration can leave a message or a voicemail. In line 1F, if you have an alternate phone number, you can enter that. Right below that, can you speak and understand English? If English is not your preferred language, please state your preferred language. The Social Security Administration can provide an interpreter free of charge. And then H and I is whether or not you can understand and read English, or if you can write more than your name. So answer yes or no is applicable. And then 1J, any names that you might have used on your medical or educational records. So a maiden name, nickname, if you've had your name legally changed in the past, annotate which names you might have used previously. In Section 2, you're going to complete this with the information for someone that is not one of your doctors or your medical care team that the Social Security Administration can contact. This person should be relatively knowledgeable about your medical conditions and be able to help you with your claim. So most likely a relative. So name, middle initial and last name, relationship to you. Could be a relative, could be a friend, possibly, neighbor. Daytime phone number, mailing address as in Section 1, and then whether or not that person can speak and understand English. Under 2F, who's completing the report? Is it the applicant? If so, that person should go to Section 3. If the person listed in 2A is completing the report, go to Section 3. If there's someone, a third person that's completing this report, that person should enter their information below, starting with their full name, relationship to the applicant, phone number, and mailing address. Section 3 is a list of all of your medical conditions. If you have more than 5, then you should carry this down to the section 11, which is the remarks page. So list all of the possible conditions that limit your ability to work. If you have cancer, then include the stage and the type of cancer. So you'll list each one separately. And then if you need more space, go to section 11. Line 3B, what is your height without shoes, either in feet and inches or in centimeters if you're outside the United States. What is your weight without shoes in 3C, pounds or kilograms. 3D, do your conditions cause you pain or other symptoms? Section 4 is your work activity. So in 4A, you'll enter whether or not you're currently working, and based on your response, you'll go to the next logical question. So if you've never worked, go to 4B. If you've stopped working, go to 4C. And then if you're still working, you can skip all the way down to 4F. If you've never worked in 4B, then you need to put an estimate of when you believe your conditions became severe enough to keep you from working, even if you never had a job. So month, day, and year. This is probably a question that you can kind of walk through with the either Social Security Administration office or the person that might be helping you apply for benefits. If you have stopped working in 4C, then you'll indicate the date that you stopped working and the reason why, either because of your condition or because of some other reasons. And even if you stopped working for other reasons, then you need to indicate when you believe that your condition became severe enough to keep you from working. In 4D, you're answering yes or no as to whether or not your condition caused you to change your work activity. So if not, go to section 5, which is the education and training section. If yes, then what date did you make those changes in your work activity? 4E, since the date that you indicated you're not able to work or that your conditions have precluded your ability to work to the fullest extent, you're going to answer whether or not you had gross earnings greater than $1,090 in any month. This does not count sick leave, vacation, or disability pay, but the SSA may contact you for more information. Either way, you'll go to section 5 from here. Unless you are currently working, then you'll need to complete, starting with 4F, whether or not your condition caused you to change. Again, when did you make those changes, if applicable? And then in 4G, since your condition first started, did you have gross earnings greater than $1,090 in any given month? Under section 5, you're going to provide the Social Security Administration with information about your educational background. So 5A, you'll select the highest grade of school completed, so 0 through 12 in primary school or high school. If you did not graduate but you got a GED, then you'll select the GED, and then however many years of college you might have completed. And 5B, if you attended any special education classes, annotate that. And then if you completed any kind of specialized job training or vocational school, enter that information in a 5C. So in section 6, you're going to start discussing your job history. Up to 5 jobs that you've had in the last 15 years before you became unable to work because of your physical or mental conditions. So in order of precedence, starting with your most recent job first. Check the box and go to section 7 if you did not work at all, but otherwise just go from the most recent job and go back. And you're going to complete the job title, the type of business, the dates that you worked, month and year only, estimated hours per day and days per week, as well as your rate of pay. And then continued in your job history, check the box that applies. You either have one job before you became unable to work, in which case you'll answer the questions below, or you had more than one job before you became unable to work, in which case you do not need to answer the questions on the rest of section 7. You can simply go to you do not need to complete the rest of the questions on section 6. You can skip directly to section 7. So if you only had one job, in 6B, you'll describe the job. What was your day-to-day? What did you do all day? Section 6C, you'll annotate whether or not you used machines, tools, or equipment, if you had technical knowledge or skills, if you did any writing or performed any duties like completing reports, things of that nature. And for any of these fields, if you need more space, you can use section 11, again, the remarks on the last page, and annotate 6B, continued job description. In 6D, you're going to combine, how many hours each day you did with activities where you were walking, standing, sitting, climbing, stooping down, kneeling, crouching, crawling, handling large objects, handling small objects, or reaching for items. 6E, you're going to write a narrative about the kind of lifting and carrying that you might have done. If you routinely carried heavy material back and forth, be detailed in what you lifted, how far you carried it, how often you did this in your job. In 6F, you're going to check the heaviest weight that you lifted, up to 100 pounds or more. 6G, you're going to check the weight that was most frequently lifted. And then in 6H, you're going to indicate whether or not you were a supervisor and your scope of responsibility, and then how much of your time you spent supervising people, and then whether or not you were in charge of hiring and firing employees. Were you a lead worker? And 6I. And then in section 7 is the medication section. So if you're not taking any medication, select no, go to section 8 and answer the medical treatment questions. If you answered yes, then you're going to need to fill out the name of the medication, the name of the doctor, and the reason for your medicine. And this is one reason why they recommend that you bring your medicine containers to the office so that you can go through this step by step. And if you need to list more medication than what's on this sheet, then go to section 7, type in or write in, go to section 11 and write in section 7, medicines continued. Under section 8, which is the medical treatment, you're going to answer a couple of yes/no's questions. 8A, whether or not you had any physical conditions that you saw a doctor or a healthcare professional, or if you have a future appointment scheduled for something. So either a physical or a mental condition, 8A or 8B. If you answered no to both of them, then you go directly to section 9, which is other medical information. But if you're applying for disability, the odds are you probably did seek medical treatment at some point, and you're going to complete this information for the healthcare provider. So doctor's offices, hospitals, emergency room visits, clinics, other healthcare facilities, and then you can also report about the next scheduled appointment. So starting with 8C, you're going to write in the name of the office or the facility, the name of the healthcare professional who treated you, and then all of these questions refer to that healthcare provider. So your phone number, your patient ID, if it's different from your social security number or if you even know it at all, your mailing address for the healthcare provider, city, state, and zip code, and the dates of treatment. So first treatment, last treatment, next scheduled appointment. If there are any emergency room visits or overnight hospital stays, you'll annotate them in either column 2 or column 3. what medical condition was treated or evaluated, and then what was the treatment that you received. If you had any of the following tests, either performed by the provider or they referred you to a different provider or they scheduled you to take these tests, then check the type of test and the data test. So an EKG is a heart test. If you did that, annotate the date. Exercise test on a treadmill, catheterization, biopsy, hearing test, speech or language test, vision test, breathing tests, an EEG, which is a brainwave test, HIV test or a different type of blood test, X-rays, MRIs, or other types of exams. If you don't have anything else to describe, you can go straight to section 9, but if you have another doctor's appointment or another facility that you have been seeing, like maybe a primary care physician in your first documentation, and this might be a specialist, something like that. So you're going to complete the same information for this field, and then if that completes everything, you can go to page 11. But if not, you can enter a third field, third type of doctor's office or a facility, a fourth, which is on page 9, and even a fifth. So you can go up to 5, and if this is probably where, if you don't have enough documentation after providing 5 different doctor's offices, then you should probably talk to either the Social Security Administration office or the person that you've enlisted to help you to determine what the proper course should be. But 5 medical providers, if you have a legitimate case for filing disability under Social Security law, then 5 medical providers should be able to give the SSA the information that they need to approve your request. Under Section 9, you'll enter any medical information. So if any third party has information about your mental or physical health, if you're scheduled to see anyone else, this could be workers' comp, insurance companies that have paid you disability benefits, prisons, attorneys. You're going to either select yes and complete the information, or select no and go to section 10 if that's applicable. If not, go to the remarks in section 11. But if you stay in section 9, you'll complete the name of the organization, phone number, mailing address, city, state, and zip code, a point of contact, the dates of your first contact and your last contact, your next scheduled, and then the reasons. So, this could be a lawsuit, for a personal injury. It could be an insurance claim. It could be whatever. Just make sure that you're putting the appropriate information in here. Again, if you're receiving SSI, you'll answer these questions. If not, then go to section 11. So 10A, have you participated or are you participating in an individual work plan under the Ticket to Work program, an individualized plan for employment with a vocational rehab agency, a plan to achieve self-support, an individual education program through your school? If you're a student that's 18 to 21, maybe adult education or a higher education facility. Any program that's providing vocational rehab, employment services, then either yes, you complete the information, or no, go to the remarks. So under 10B, you'll enter the information, the name of the organization, the coach or counselor, phone number, mailing address. And then 10C is your narrative for when you started participating in the plan or program. Under 10D, you'll outline whether or not you're still participating, or whether you completed it, or whether you stopped before completing and then why you did. And then 10E, you're going to list the types of services, tests, or evaluations that you received while in that vocational rehab service. And again, section 11 is the remarks field. You do not have to complete that unless there is information you need to provide that would not fit in one of the other sections. And then at the bottom, the date that the report is completed. Again, this is an overall view of how to step-by-step complete the form, but it does not provide any information to determine whether you're eligible for a Social Security claim. There is an entire body of law and precedent and governmental policy. So the best way to get advice on that situation would be either to find an attorney or specialist that focuses on Social Security claims, or making an appointment with the Social Security Administration office where you bring your medical records and you bring your list of medications and you sit down with someone. So if you need more information, we've written a complete article on how to fill out this form. Check out our website, teachmepersonalfinance.com. Type in SSA 3368 in the search bar. This article should come up, and please feel free to hit us up either online, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to our email list on our website, and you can always ask questions either on social or directly by email. Thank you very much, and have a good day.